Hi, Scarzy here. But before the video begins anyway, I just wanted to include a formal thank you for 500 subscribers or 501 or 2 or whatever it is now. I am so thankful, so grateful, so eternally gratuitous for any attention that anybody shows me, because if you choose to spend your time on me, it's only right that I do my best, you know? And also because in my current social circle, there is no one, like literally not a single one of the people around me that likes From Software or cares about the company or its games. So I kind of made this channel just to like speak about my favorite gaming company of all time and my favorite games of all time. Just because there was no one willing to listen anyway. So yeah, I just made this channel just on a whim, and thank you all so much for 500. Like, that's truly incredible, and I'm just glad that whether you think my points are good or bad, you're willing to listen anyway, which is... it's just, yeah, like I'm kind of rambling because I don't really know how to express my thanks, and unfortunately, as is the British way, we can't accept compliments, but I just know I am thankful, and even if I don't sound it, I always am, and I promise that I see you and I hear you. After suffering your way through Sen's fortress, making the iron golem topple over itself, and then interacting with a seemingly obscure marking in the center of the area, 3 Batwind demons will appear and carry you over the fortress. Suddenly, you are presented with a city coated in sunlight and painted in regality, and when the demons place you at the very height of it, you are greeted with the iconic... Compared to the hollowed nature of Undead Bergen Parish, it feels overwhelmingly vibrant, and the aggressive nature of Blighttown gets replaced with a sense of calm. The player will most likely feel excited when landing in Anor Londo for the first time, and maybe even rewarded for going through Sen successfully. But as the level goes on, that feeling fades into obscurity. The vibrancy is false. The calm is unsettling. Why is this most obviously central city even so calm to begin with? There is no one, nothing, and everything within Anor Londo is so lifeless. If you wasn't entirely sure that Lordran was on its deathbed before, that small trip over the Great Wall absolutely confirmed it. The giant knights stand aimlessly, guarding nothing of any importance, and the statues of the area's duo boss, Ornstein and Smo, loom over you. The city is so large, impossibly large, that you might wonder if this place was even inhabited to start with. The first undead you come across is the Darkmoon Ninetess.
Go ahead. You may rest here. Even an undead requires repose.
Who claims you've arrived in the lost city of Anor Londo, which should tell you this place has not seen life for a very long time. So why is she here? Well, for a gameplay sense, she's the Firekeeper of Anor Londo, as bestowed to her by Gwendolyn, and is the crestfallen of the area, helping the player to understand where to go and why to go there, which is obviously for the gameplay loop. But when you look a bit deeper, she begins to become a bit more interesting than that. If you use the Dark Hand on her, you will be given no humanity, and if you aggro her, she will remain permanently hostile, meaning you can't absolve this sin with Oswald. Despite her light-looking armor, her swift weaponry, and her dexterity-type aura, she fat rolls, almost as if she has no endurance. No other hostile NPC has this feature, and all function as they should, dependent on their armor and weaponry. And so I'm bringing this up as this video is about the curiosities of Anor Londo, and while the Darkmoon Ninetess is strange programming-wise, I couldn't find any lore-type reasoning as to why she is the way that she is. I tried many times to find some connections between her and the Twilight, but unfortunately, I think this is in fact a programming oversight on FromSoft's behalf. But if anyone can make any connections for her bizarre programming behavior, please let me know in the comments. I always love to hear them. Or better yet, join my Discord. Oh my god, I feel so weird for promoting it, but yes, I have a Discord. Anyway, the explorer in you will probably head towards the statue of Smo and up the stairs, sadly to find you can't enter the archives yet, leaving the only possible option being the lift that lowers you into the heart of anor londo, where that feeling of emptiness creeps ever more. The stairwell behind the gargoyle is clearly out of service, but sleeping on your left is a buttress. Head up it, and through the broken window, you end up at the top of a chapel that is home to the copious painting guardians. Just like the giant knights before, they also appear to be lifelessly guarding nothing, but this time they are annoyingly hostile from the get-go. If you look down from the ledges, there is literally nothing within the chapel. No church pews, no podium, no obvious iconography on the glass, and not even a single candle sits within it. If you don't have the doll, the painting will also be aimless. The entire chapel and the painting is void of life in any sense, and their gargantuan size only makes this even more glaringly obvious. This is probably the time that that sense of excitement shifts into a sense of unsettledness. The Guardians are tiny in comparison to the setting around them, and there's no outwardly clear reason for them to be there. Shouldn't there be giants or something similar in a building this big? The enemies, both on the ceiling and the ground, are so hell-bent on killing you and are so highly aggressive that you most likely did not make it to the other side on your first try. There are so many guardians that you just assume that the enemy type within anor londo will be the guardians. But alas, they quickly fade into obscurity. I bring this point up just in case somebody makes mention of the painting guardians, as their only job is to protect the painting and not necessarily anor londo. So I'm bringing them up not as like a, oh, think about why they're only here, but more as to why they're only there to begin with. Regardless, you continue through the city, still overly aware of its unhuman size and totally out of place demons, venturing up another buttress where, finally, two familiar faces await you, the Silver Knights. Yes, we have only seen Black Knights up until this point, but come on, they are literally the same. Just one variant is covered in char and the other isn't. So pretty please give me a pass on this one. Hopefully, you make it past their unforgiving bows and worriedly walk across yet another ledge and breathe a very heavy sigh of relief when you end up on the balcony of Gwyn's keep. The feeling within the keep is sterile from the millisecond that you step within it, but not too far you find a closed door. Not that one. And you find yourself in familiar company. Sunbro is the first real reward, and perhaps that sense of stillness leaves you completely when you see him. Clearly the city isn't as bad considering the embodiment of hope itself is here, and so whatever negative feeling you might have had gets washed away. Whether you consider yourself someone who gets immersed in Dark Souls or not, it's hard to deny that Solaire is a treat to come across in an otherwise bizarre area. Leaving Solaire behind, if you stumble too far, or perhaps you're just very hungry, you will end up in the kitchen, stumble even further into the out-of-service fireplace, and you set foot in the most unsettling room of all, Havel's secret sin. Havel intended to kill the very god, Gwyn, that he aligned with, because Gwyn allowed Seath, a dragon, to live within the archives. And of course, Havel was a prolific dragon killer, an avid hater of dragons, and so Gwyn went against his beliefs, leading him to craft the occult club and hide it within the room where no god, noble, or any other form of divinity would ever set foot. The kitchen. Or rather, the kitchen's storage area? We aren't quite sure, but what we are sure of is that this room is scary. It's dark, deathly silent, and the lack of any enemy only makes you feel more unsure of it. This is not somewhere we are meant to be, whether you understand the lore or not. However, the kitchen is not the worst of it. Anor londo has this ability to make the player sit up in their seat due to its decrepit nature in the same way that New Londo Ruins does. And perhaps because of this, that sinister breathing sound that follows you everywhere you go causes the player to take every single step with caution. This breathing, of course, belongs to the Titanite demon within the chapel on the second floor. Paired with the dark atmosphere of the castle, it ends up creating an unsettling feeling, where you unintentionally end up being overly aware of an area that barely has anything to be aware of. Opposite the demon is Gwyn's proudest work, the trophy room. Home to a plethora of dragon heads proudly displayed for all to see, this room, without a doubt, will instill a feeling of unease within you. The heads paint the walls from floor to ceiling, and any compassionate person would feel almost sad at that sight. Granted, the gaping dragon didn't make you feel sad, but compassion is separate from willing. You willed to live when it came to the gaping dragon, but upon seeing the deceased dragons within Gwyn's pride, you aren't willing to live, and so compassion has room to thrive. It's depressing to see. The slaughter of what is effectively the native species to Lordran, so amorously showcased, unsettles you. Funnily enough, this death-blighted room is a shortcut, aka your second reward, from the bonfire to the stairs that lead into the central area of the castle that then leads onto Ornstein and Smo. The two of them are far removed from the stillness of the Anor Londo on the opposite side of the fog gate and present the only real challenge within the castle walls, as the duo are relentless, not just because of their duo fight nature, but maybe it's because up to this point, Anor Londo is not a difficult area, and so you naturally wouldn't be prepared for the difficulty spike they introduce. Disregarding its difficulty in favor of nitpicking, isn't the fight overall just a bit off? Since they're a duo fight, you would assume that the both of them share similar weaknesses and resistances in order to make the fight easier from an equipment point of view. However, the two actually differ quite vastly in what is best to use against each member of the pair. Smo is simple enough. He's weakest against fire, bleed, and lightning, which makes sense considering his humanoid-ish appearance. But Ornstein has the same, arguably more so humanoid appearance, and yet he is resistant to all of those things. But he is surprisingly weak to occult damage, which is best utilized against the gods. In fact, we know that it was purposely weaponized with the sole intention to kill Gwyn. What business does Ornstein have, being weak to the damage type that is meant to be showcased against the divine? If he is within the same arena as Smo, shouldn't they work in tandem? Lothric and Lorien can both easily be bled. Godskin Duo, a direct homage to ONS, are equally as weak to sleep as the other, and Throne Watcher and Defender are both weak to lightning. How strange. Proceed to the lift after the curious fight, and you'll end up at the chamber of the princess, where Guinevere resides.
O chosen undead, thou hast journeyed far. Please, father's role thou should assume, and inheriteth the fire of our world. Thou shalt endeth this eternal twilight, and avert further undead sacrifices. Kingseeker Friend, the primordial serpent, shall guide thee. Now thou shalt go forth, chosen undead. May thou be one with the sunlight forevermore.
She is gorgeous, delicate, and bestowed in sunlight that only adds to her regal nature. I like to say that meeting Guinevere for the first time is the same as receiving a hug when you're at your lowest, or, if you're British like me, being asked if you'd like a cup of tea. The chosen undead has powered through Lordran, and Guinevere understands this, gifting us with the Lord Vessel, which allows us to warp to select bonfires, and suddenly, Anor Londo doesn't seem so off-putting. However, if you look at Guinevere for too long, for no particular reason of course, you'll realize that she's gigantic, like weirdly gigantic. The architecture of Anor Londo is giant, of course, but if you went through the castle the proper way instead of the easy shortcut by jumping over the barrister, you would have passed through two bedrooms. One belongs to Gwyn, and the other to his firstborn daughter, Guinevere. Guinevere's bed is tiny in comparison to the princess we meet in the chamber, and so there's no possible way that she would fit on it. The door entering into the bedroom is also normal sized, meaning the princess cannot enter her own room at the size that we meet her at. We also know that Gwyn isn't anywhere near the sheer size of Guinevere, so her being the size that she is also seems a bit odd. Guinevere's mother is unknown, but considering the size of her siblings, we can safely assume that their mother is not of the gargantuan persuasion. How strange. That's it. That is all Anor Londo presents to the untrained eye. A large, empty city with out-of-place demons and a sinister secret hiding in the kitchen. Hold on. Untrained eye. What could this desolate level be possibly hiding from you? Well, say you didn't like Guinevere and struck her boobs. You strike her boobs and you realize that this tower of a woman has virtually no vitality and will dissipate with a single touch.
Thou that tarnisheth the godmother's image, I am Gwyndolin. And thy transgression shall not go unpunished. Thou shalt perish in the twilight of Anor Londo.
That's when Anor Londo's true nature comes to light. Anor Londo has long been void of sunlight. After Gwyn left for the kiln, Anor Londo fell into eternal darkness. Guinevere was quick to follow, leaving only Gwyn's disgraced son behind, Gwyndolin. Too weak to follow his family and too frail to claim himself lord, he instead chose to use his proficiency in magic to create a powerful illusion that would turn the now twilighted Anor Londo into the sun-filled city it once was. So why is Anor Londo so unsettling if Gwyndolin reinstated it back to how it previously was? Is it that Gwyndolin, the false daughter, did a bad job? Or maybe it just falls down to bad world building and design? No. Anor Londo is a place where only the divine reside, whether the divinity is the gods themselves or the knights, giants, and nobles they have blessed to live alongside them. The undead live outside the walled city, in the Bile of Blighttown or the townhouses of Undead Burg, where the saintly of Anor Londo could look upon them. Human, undead, chosen undead, curse bearer, hollow one, ashen one, champion of ash, or hollow could never live alongside them. What would one void of Empyrean ties have business in within the City of the Sun? After Gwyn fled to the kiln, Anor Londo's central pillar was removed. The firstborn son exiled, the very symbol of bounty and sunlight had departed shortly after her brother, leaving only Gwyndolin.
Heretic. First thou offendeth the godmother, and now thou see fit to trample upon the tomb of the great lord. I am the dark sun, Gwyndolin. Let the atonement for thy felonies commenceth.
Whose soul allied with the moon? What use is the moon to the deities who pledge their lives to the sun? Anor Londo instills a sense of unease within you because you were never welcome there to begin with. No matter how good of an illusionist Gwyndolin is, not even a god could present his heavenly home to a human when Gwyn never intended for humans to live alongside them to start with. Gwyn had a complicated relationship with humanity. He tolerated them enough to allow the founding of New Londo, the city below the shrine, under the condition that it would be closely watched by Gwyn's eye. But at the same time, he was greatly aware of the fact that if the Age of Dark came to be, only humanity would survive. Humanity is immortal thanks to the Dark Soul, and it's the gods who were mortal, as they could never possess a Dark Soul.
My lord, bless thy safe return. Let Garth and Fraft serve your highness.
Gwyn was a god who cowered at mankind, whilst ensuring their heritage to the dark was aptly stripped away and replaced with worship to the sun, the white, and the gods who commanded it. This is why I think we are intended to feel out of place within Gwyn's home. Gwyndolin loves his father, and so it wouldn't make sense for him to paint the city falsely for the comfort of humanity when that alone would defy one of Gwyn's core beliefs. Humanity should always be below. Humanity should not interfere with sanctitude. We are unsettled precisely because that is what Gwyn manifested. Typically, mankind should be afeared of the gods, and as such, the city they live in should install that same sense of discomfort within your dark soul. Saying this, Anor Londo is still only a mirage of the splendor it used to be. There are plenty of cracks to be seen. The main gate to the city now gone.
So it was you, was it? How dare you produce a blade upon a deity? How did you ever get this far? I shall end your suffering here and now.
The Firekeeper of undead persuasion, divine beings now replaced by demons birthed through chaos, hungry secrets now uncovered, a Titanite demon within a place of worship, a painting meant to be untouched now vulnerable, the Dragon Slayer who is weak to the darkness that corrupts the gods, the cannibalist executioner in charge of the most important deity within Lordran, an empty chest at the base of an empty tomb with lies of an empty departing gift. And the most important of all, the city's true nature, hidden only behind a single wooden arrow. Perhaps this is why the Anor Londo of Lothric does not bring this same sense of stillness. By that point, the undead have become lords, and Gwyn's worst fear has come to light hundreds of times, and the only god left standing has been eaten by Aldrich.
Oh, heretic, swathed in dark, an eternal curse upon thee.
The gods have abandoned us. Praise the sun, and may the dark always be with you.
Don't you dare let yourself go hollow, lest my time spent on you be wasted.